Hello, hello. It is Thursday, right? I keep thinking it's Friday. That's going to be really disappointing when tomorrow's not Saturday, right? It has just been one of those weeks. I will wait just a minute or two for people to get on. I am a couple of minutes late, but today, unlike yesterday, it's not my fault. We actually have a horrible thunderstorm blowing through right now. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, but hopefully it won't mess with our internet connection because it messed with my electricity a few minutes ago, but everything seems to be back and I think it's blowing over now. So I might like peel my eyes off to the side here as I look out the windows to see how bad it's getting out there, but hopefully it has passed and we will not have any more technical difficulties. So the topic for today is about what a publicist can do for you. I am a publicist if you're not aware of that. And when I asked for topics for my live videos this week, somebody asked, what does a publicist really do for you? I'm going to tell you what I do for people and tell you a couple of ways that maybe what I do differs from other people and give you a better idea of what a publicist does and at what stage of your business you are ready for a publicist. So I'm excited. It's always fun when I get to talk about what I do. So if you're here, feel free to say hello. I would love to know who's tuning in, and I will go ahead and get started. And then hopefully if you guys missed the beginning, you'll catch up on the replay. But I know I have no formal agenda today. I just wanted to give my thoughts because somebody asked, what does a publicist do? So I'll tell you a little bit about how I work with my clients and how that differs a little bit from client to client because there's, at least in my mind, no one size fits all sort of strategy. Hi, Eric. How are you? So it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. I definitely create different packages for my clients. I do have a set retainer that applies to all my clients. But aside from that, the work I do for them, although similar, it's not exactly the same, different strategies for everybody. People are in different industries. I have a client who is a doctor who has her own skincare line in addition to her practice. I have a client who is a corporate sales trainer, has a ton of experience with public speaking, especially in corporate environments. I have a client whose specialty is online marketing. Actually, I have two clients whose specialty is sort of in the online marketing world and some different aspects of it. I have a client who leads a nonprofit and wants to be an expert on the decline of African Americans in Major League Baseball. So sort of a unique angle there. I have a client who is a pageant queen who also runs a nonprofit related to her platform in the pageant. So as you can see, that's an example of some of my clients right now and kind of how they're across different industries. So I'll talk to you a little bit about how I work with people. I certainly start by finding out what people's goals are. Okay, some people might be trying to build their presence in their local market. Some people want to be national or even global. Some people are kind of at the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey and they're still trying to establish themselves as an expert. Some people I work with already have books. I have a client right now who is has a cookbook coming out in September. You've probably seen me talk about it. It's a sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free cookbook with the most amazing looking recipes. Unfortunately, I'm not a good enough cook, I think, to make most of them, but my best friend is a trained chef and I showed the book to her the other night and showed her all the recipes we are going to try. And by we, I mean I'm going to sit in her kitchen and sip a glass of champagne or something while she cooks it. That's pretty much where my cooking abilities lie. I can sit in the kitchen and cheer on whoever's doing the cooking. So when I start working with a client, and really even before we start working together, when we have the discovery call, I talk to them about what their goals are because I want to develop a strategy that gets you to your goals. As I said before, there is no one size fits all strategy for publicity. It really is dependent on what your individual goals are. Hi, Valerie. I'm glad you're here. So I talk to my clients first and foremost, what is your goal? What are your goals? What are your short-term goals for your business? What are your long-term goals for your business? And where do you really want to be right now? So are you super excited about guest blogging, or you really want to do podcasts right now? Or you've been trying to figure out how to get on TV shows, or you want to have magazine articles, your book's coming out and you want to put together a book launch plan. So we talk through short-term and long-term goals and I give them suggestions for how I think they should get there. And I'm really hands-on. I build the strategy, but certainly with their input. I want to play to people's strengths. I want to make sure we're getting in front of the right audience for their industry and for whatever their product or service or book is. And so we talk a lot about that. So I always tell people the most time-intensive period you spend with me is really that very first month, because I want to get to know your business or your book or whatever it is as well as you do, or as close as I can get to that. I'm never going to be you, but I can get to know your story pretty well, because I want to take things off my client's plate, okay? I don't want to go back to my clients constantly and say, hey, is this worded right? Hey, can we pitch for this? You know, am I representing your story correctly, saying it like this? Are you interested in this opportunity? I mean, when I've been working with a client for a while, I don't have to do that anymore. The client that I've had for the longest is my doctor client, which if you followed me for very long, you've probably seen me post about, who has her own skincare line, and she gets published all over the place. She's on TV a lot. She really is growing a global brand. She's got an article coming out in an Australian magazine soon, because her product is vegan, and there are a lot of vegans in Australia, and the largest vegan magazine in the world happens to be based out of Australia. So a different strategy than I have with some of my other clients, but I am at the stage with her now where I just bring opportunities to her. I know what kind of stuff she's interested in doing. I know her backstory. I know the backstory on her products. I know every single one of her products. I use them. So I know what we're going for, what she's going to want to do, what she doesn't want to do. I know the strategy. I built the strategy. And so I just come to her and say, hey, I have this TV opportunity. Which day next week works? Or, hey, got you a guest blog on this site. I need you to have the blog to me by this date, and here are the specs for it. It's got to be this number of words and this whatever. So with her, you know, it's kind of a finely tuned machine now, but we've been working together since September. So I really do know her business as well as I can without actually being a doctor like her. So I use that first month. Hi, Jessica. I see where you just joined. So I use that first month with people to really get to know, like I said, their business, their book, whatever it is that we're going to be working on together, because I want to be able to do a lot of work on your behalf without having to come to you constantly. The people who hire me are people who are usually too busy to do this themselves. And one of the questions I said I would answer for you today is when you know you need a publicist. I was my own publicist for a very long time, and that's actually how I came up with the idea that I wanted to be a publicist and do this for other people. I was a corporate attorney, and I was doing some stuff on the side around the business and legal issues in sports. And I was able to start getting myself placed on bigger outlets online, in written publications. I got paid speaking engagements. I got book deals. I ended up getting a big job offer from ESPN. So I was my own publicist, and people would come to me and ask me how I did the various things. How did I get this guest blog or this speaking engagement? How did I get on TV? All that kind of stuff. And that has evolved over the years, and that's how I came up with the idea to be a publicist. So I will never tell you that you can't be your own. You absolutely can be your own publicist. And when I first started, my sort of sweet spot was that I was coaching people on how to be their own publicist. I had a 90-day program, and that's what I did, was help people become their own publicist. Then I had people start coming to me and saying, you know what, I'm too busy. Can you just do it for me? And that's really my sweet spot now, because your business evolves and you learn the things you really love to do and the things that light you up. And I love to pitch. Love it, love it, love it. I love coming up with the angle. I love drafting the story, like the email that I'm going to send. I love putting a strategy together, and I love getting in touch with editors and talent bookers and pitching my client. I'm a super competitive person, and I think that that sort of like feeds into that. You know, I get all these like little victories every time I get a yes for a client. So I love pitching, and that's why I've really transitioned kind of away from coaching. I still offer it if you ask for it. It's still on my website. I still offer it. I have not yet closed the doors on it. I am down to one client on the coaching side. Most of my business comes from the publicist side. So it's people who've generally been in business about at least a year, and most of them are already making six figures, and they want to hire someone to do it for them. They know that their time is better used in other ways in their business than tracking down email addresses for editors and talent bookers and writing pitches. And, you know, it's something you really have to do on a continuous basis. You don't just send one pitch out to get a guest blog generally, or one magazine article. You know, it's a larger process than that. And so what I'm doing is I'm out there pounding the pavement for my clients, and I'm leveraging my connections. Okay. I had a client just yesterday that I emailed and I said, hey, you know, I've gone through the process now to become a contributor at Inc.com. I've previously gone through the process process to be a contributor at Forbes. I contribute at Fast Company, like which one she's interested in, all of those. And we start talking through which one does she want to try first? Does she just want to do a one-off post, or does she want to become a contributor? I've already been through the process, so I know how it works, and I don't have to send my clients into the info@forbes.com email address or to fill out a form on the website, because I work with editors in all those places. So I just email my editor and I say, hey, I have a client who really wants to write a blog about this, or who's interested in becoming a contributor. So I keep up my own expertise and my own work in the media, doing guest blogs and radio interviews and podcast interviews and TV and whatever, because then I use my relationships with those editors and talent bookers to get you past those first steps, to get you out of the pile with everybody else who's submitting. So in addition to being able to take it off your plate so that you don't have to spend your time pitching yourself, and I do it for TV, guest blogs, podcasts, radio, public speaking, corporate training gigs. All my clients, like I said in the beginning, are all kind of different in different industries and looking for different opportunities. I leverage my own relationships. And then if I don't have a relationship somewhere, I will go get it. And I can get people to answer my emails because I throw around my credentials. I'm a writer at Forbes, and I used to be at ESPN, and I've written for dozens of magazines. And these people move around in the industry. I just found out yesterday, actually, that my former editor from Forbes from years and years ago when I first started at Forbes is at Inc.com now. And so I've got these relationships, and I'm happy to leverage them for my clients. I mean, that's the advantage I think that I have over some other publicists who are out there, is that I am an expert myself, and I'm an active expert. I wrote on Forbes yesterday. So I keep those relationships up, and I'm able to leverage it and get introductions to people and that sort of thing. Jessica said, I'm going to be bringing you on. I would love to work with you, Jessica. For those of you who don't know Jessica, Jessica is a phenomenal public speaker. I haven't gotten to see her live, but I did get to meet her live and in person and know a lot about her story. And I am going to be sending my clients who want to become better public speakers her way. I work with clients on booking speaking gigs now, but she really works on the longer process. So figuring out what is it that you're going to speak about and really developing yourself as a public speaker. And I am moving away from that because I told you guys I found out what I love is the pitching part. So I love working with people on their whole strategy to become more visible and on their entire publicity strategy. So some people are more interested in one thing than another, but I try as much as I can to come up with a holistic approach for my clients that brings in a lot of different things, that guest blogs, getting quoted in the media, being on radio and TV, being on podcast interviews, doing the public speaking, all those different things that you can put together that make you look like a real powerhouse. I mean, when you're out there and you've got, 3 radio interviews this week and a TV segment, and oh, by the way, you had a guest blog over on Fast Company too. I mean, that makes you look like a pretty big deal to your potential clients, no matter what industry you're in. So even though my clients work across different industries, a lot of the same strategy and advice and tips come into play. Valerie said, I am too. Yes, Valerie and I are meant to work together. Valerie, I have known for a very long time now. She is becoming a fantastic blogger. She does some fashion blogging, and she's been getting some really cool opportunities lately to go to fashion shows and go to live events, which I'm a little jealous of. It sounds pretty cool. But I blog about enough things. I cannot start blogging about fashion, and that is definitely not my area anyway. So the way I work with clients, I told you I get to know their business as much as I can in that first month because I want to start taking things off their plate. We kind of refine our idea of what their story is and the core angles we're going to use to pitch them. We talk about what they really want to do. So I had a client who just started with me Monday, and I said, okay, I know we're going to try for all these different things. I know you're interested in guest blogging and TV and public speaking. What do you want the most right now? Because I want to give my clients what they want. Now I can give you my opinion about what I think you should do first, but I want to know, what do you want the most? And she said, what I want the most is to be on TV. Now this is the other thing I do. I set expectations with my clients. So I'm also going to give you my advice and feedback on whether you're making the right choices about your publicity. So what I told her was, based on her particular topic, she needed to understand that there probably are not going to be people watching the television show she wants to be on who are going to become clients, okay? Because it's morning TV, it's going to be a lot of stay-at-home moms, a lot of retirees. I don't think her ideal client is really there. There might be a few of them, but by and large, her ideal client doesn't happen to be in that audience. However, that doesn't mean she shouldn't do it, because being on television is a big deal. It credentials you. It makes you look like an expert. And I am first and foremost about that. I want you to be known as an expert for your niche, okay? And if you don't know what it is yet, I'll help you find it. But I want you to be known as an expert because that's how you start getting offers that like come out of the woodwork. I think I posted in the group earlier today, I've done like 3 radio interviews and 2 podcast interviews this week. I didn't pitch myself for a single one of those, not one, okay? I don't really pitch myself anymore. I don't pitch myself for public speaking. I don't pitch myself for radio and podcasts. I pitch myself a tiny bit for TV, but not even that much for that. They come to me, but it's because I've spent years, blogging and on social media and doing interviews in places so that now when people search keywords around my topics, which for me, my area of expertise is the business of college football, when people search those topics, I come up on Google, my website comes up, or where I wrote for ESPN comes up, or where I wrote for Forbes comes up, or where I was on TV, or my book, or, I'm out there in so many places because I have positioned myself as an expert, okay? And I always tell people, I started calling myself an expert before anybody else did. So do not be afraid to use the E word, okay? No one else is gonna believe you're an expert till you start saying you're an expert. And going on TV is a really quick way to establish yourself as an expert and credential yourself. And so even if people, the ideal client that you want isn't watching you on TV, you can leverage that appearance on social media and on your website in a way that makes your potential clients who are engaging with you on social media and checking out your website, they will see you as someone who is an expert. It credentials you. It's impressive. It makes them think you know what you're talking about, that they're hiring someone who really does know how to help them with whatever your area is. So just because the people aren't in the audience when you go on TV doesn't necessarily mean that TV is the wrong thing for you. But I'm all about setting expectations for clients, okay? So if I think you're making a decision for the wrong reasons, or I think you don't really understand why we're doing something. I mean, when I build a strategy, I'm explaining to you, okay, we need to do this first because we can use this as leverage to get this, and then we can use this and put it together with this, and hey, then we'll create a reel and we'll go do this. There is it's not a one size fits all, and it is different for everybody, but there are still ways to piece things together in a way that makes sense and that you can leverage smaller opportunities for bigger ones, okay? So I build the strategy, and then I'm out there pitching you, okay? I'm out there talking to editors and talent bookers, and I'm pitching you to start getting these opportunities and be more visible, and I'm giving you the strategy on how to leverage it afterwards. So a client just came to me, and she's already done some podcast interviews before we started working together, and she sent me a message today, and she said, hey, what do I do with these now? Okay, so this afternoon, I'm going to sit down and write her an email, and I'm going to tell her exactly what she should be doing with those on social media and her website, and what I think we can do with them down the road. I'm very big on strategy. You don't just, it's great to be visible, and it's great when you start putting yourself out there. And in the beginning, it doesn't even matter. Just put yourself out there, do live videos, or go on somebody's podcast, or write blogs on your site, guest blog for Huffington Post. In the beginning, it really is just important to start putting yourself out there, but at some point, we need to build a strategy and make sure you're in front of the right people and that you're writing and talking about the right topics. I think I've said this in a video before. The biggest mistake I see people make is they get the opportunity to write for Huffington Post, and their writing is like all over the place. One post is a recipe, and the next post is about, how they worked on their mindset, and the next post is about 10 apps they can't live without. Like it doesn't, I read those, and if I didn't look at their bio, I don't know what their specialty is or what their niche is. So I help people really hone in on a strategy that not only puts you in front of people, puts you in front of the right people, and has you talking and writing about the right topics to position yourself for your ideal client or your ideal customer. So very strategic. After the first month or two, I generally know my clients' businesses pretty well, and we're pitching pretty fast, and I know what they want to do and what they don't want to do. And it's a little more hands-off for them after that first month or two, because I already know their story at that point, and I sort of know what our strategy is, and then they're able to focus on their own business and where they can make money, and I focus on getting them visible and getting them in the right places. So that's pretty much how it works. And with my publicity clients, it's not like it was when I was doing coaching where you sign up for 90 days. mean, it's a month to month. You pay a retainer every month. Right now, my rate is $1,500 a month. I'm pretty much full. I can take on 2 clients in August because you probably saw me announce I hired someone new this week who I've actually worked with before. And so I knew she could get up to speed fast and there wasn't much of a learning curve. So I have a junior publicist working with me, doing some of the background research and digging around and finding things for me. I'm still doing all of the pitching for my clients because I told you that's what I love the most. And that's where I feel like a lot of my skill is. It's in leveraging my relationships and doing the actual pitching. But now that there's 2 of us doing it and she can help me with a lot of the background work, we can take on 2 more clients in August. I already have some discovery sessions set up, so I don't know how long those 2 spots will last. But right now it's a month to month relationship. I tell people, if you don't want to work with me anymore, then that's fine. I don't want to lock people into 6 months or 12 months and make them feel like they're forced to work with me. I haven't had clients leave me in the past. And so I'm convinced that once you get on board and we're working together, you'll want to keep working with me. And so I just require that my clients give me 30 days notice if they want to drop off the roster, because then I know I have that spot to fill with somebody else. So that is pretty much how my publicity services work from kind of a broad perspective. Again, it's a little different with everybody because people are in different industries and we've got different strategies and it's not one size fits all. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to stick around for a couple of minutes and answer questions. And then I'm going to do another podcast interview. And actually, I'm doing a podcast interview with one of my clients. And so that's always fun when I get to go and be on a client show. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't see any questions coming in, and I know there's just a few of you who are still left on here. So if I don't see anything, I am probably going to go ahead and drop off so I can get ready for my podcast interview in a few minutes. But if you have any questions about my services or just about publicists in general, the types of things you should ask publicists when you get on the phone with them, how they measure results or what they promise you every month, I'm happy to tell you more about that. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope I get the chance to work with all of you one day because you're all so fabulous. But until then, feel free to drop any questions in, and I hope you guys have a great Thursday.